This guy wrote me an interesting letter, and he said, after generating attraction and interest and going out with a girl, we'll sometimes spend 10 or more hours together. Pause. For one, I would say that on a first, second, or third date, you should not be spending that much time with a woman. Even if you guys end up hooking up, you could do like a 2-hour date and then a 3-hour hookup where you hook up, watch TV, and hook up again. But you should not be dragging out dates to more than like 5 hours max. For those first few dates, it should be like really no more than 90 minutes to 2 hours. But like as you're taking her out more and seeing her more, you should save the 10 plus hours things for like maybe after like date 5 or 6. Early on, that's not what should be going on, because it could cause you to get burned out and it can cause her to get burned out. But anyway, he says, so they'll spend 10 plus hours together, but I start to feel like I go silent and change my personality. I feel like I'm good at the initial high energy engagement. I can be charismatic, get numbers, etc. But then I seem to become dry and boring as heck. That's he said boring is, at least in my opinion. I'm wondering what's going on with me psychologically, or maybe I'm just really a boring person who's only good at acting fun for a short while. Well, I will say again, thank you for writing me. This is not an abnormal phenomenon. This is a thing that happens to a lot of guys. And here's how it breaks down, right? So maybe up to this point, you weren't great at parties. You weren't great at initially meeting women. And so you come to my channel, maybe somebody else's channel, and you learn the ins and outs of how to spark attraction, how to converse in the right way, how to do things that give women the vibe of you're being that cool guy, how to dress yourself well. And so you start building confidence and you go out there and you start being that fun guy. You're not so nervous and apprehensive anymore. And it actually works. Like you actually that dude, you can go to parties, events, meet new people, and you're that guy that's able to shine. And women are like, oh my God, he's so amazing, right? But here's the problem, is that it's almost like we go from 0 in terms of not knowing how to do that to thinking, oh, I know how to be at a 10 level, and that 10 level is what's going to get me women. But you can't sustain a 10 level of energy for a long period of time, especially if you're like me, an introvert who more often than not, like, I know how to be funny. I can be cool. I can be vibrant. I can tell jokes. I can make people laugh. I know how to get in that conversation. But most of my time, I'm a pretty even chill guy. I spend a lot of my time in my head being cerebral about things and thinking about the world. I like having intellectual conversations. And that's not the version of me that if I'm doing that version of me at a 10 all the time, that version of me is not going to get women. Like me being like, hey, what's up? So let's talk about something deep, blah, 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 like vibing out. Like it's cool. And that's a vibe that in the long term, a woman can get with. But in terms of the introductory, you kind of want to be able to turn it on a little bit, But the problem is, again, we go from not knowing how to do it at all to trying to go to a 10 level. And we might be able to sustain that for the first, maybe second date. But by date 3, it's kind of like you stop wanting to put on the facade of always being that fun, vibrant guy. And you don't have to be that guy to not be seen as boring, And so here's basically what's going on is that you're using high energy to get the woman, and then you're not able to keep that up for a long period of time. And so you start feeling like you're a fraud. And also, she's also getting the experience of, wait a minute, what happened to the guy that I met? He's not being the same guy now. He's not showing the same energy. He's kind of doing his thing. And that's not even adding on the fact that you're spending 10 hours with these chicks. It is very hard to, in the beginning stages, have a lot to talk about beyond like 3 or 4 hours. Like, we're just being real, right? Yes, you can ask all the questions in the world, but there comes a time where you're going to be like, okay, this is kind of lulling a bit. I want to head out. And so you guys that are trying to do like these 10 or 12 hour marathon dates, this is why around like the 6 hour mark, you guys are just kind of walking next to each other and nothing's being said a lot, or you guys are in the car and in the beginning you were having a vibrant conversation, and now as the date goes on in an hour 6 or 7, you're driving someplace and you're like, I have nothing to say. Should I be saying something? How is she feeling? This feels awkward. Do not set yourself up for awkwardness. Make your earlier dates with women shorter, and she will feel as though she's getting to know you and that you're a vibrant conversationalist, And so because of that, what's happening is that you are having a disconnected dating identity. You're trying to be both a guy that's fun and charismatic all the time, but you also know that that's not your everyday, and you can't keep that up. And so that can cause you to start to feel a bit awkward. It can cause you to run out of what you think you should be saying, because all the fun stuff you said was at the beginning, and now it's like hour 4, and you're like, I have nothing fun else to say, and I don't know what's going on. And so that starts to make you feel like you're being awkward or boring. And so the other thing that you internally fear is that there's a thought that you can start to build as you're learning this stuff, that the only way that women are going to love you is if you're entertaining all the time. Don't talk about serious subjects. I know I've said that before. Hey, on first dates and second dates, don't be overly serious. Try to be fun, vibrant, keep things light. And I stress that's fine for the earlier part of when you're dating a girl. Around week like 6 or 7, assuming you get to that point, it's fine to not always be the fun and vibrant guy. Now, I'm not saying be a depressing guy either, but I'm saying you don't have to, every single thing you talk about doesn't have to be entertaining or full of joy. You can talk about serious stuff, things going on in politics or things going on in her life, or she had something happen at work and she wants to talk about it in a serious way. You're fine to have those conversations at that point. It's just early on, you don't need to feel like you got to do that, right? And so here's ultimately what you should be doing, is that I don't believe in going to a full 10 in terms of being a high entertaining guy when you first meet a woman. At best, take it to no more than a 7, because you want to give off the vibe that you know how to have fun, you can engage in conversation, you can be joyful, but also there's a side to you that can also kind of chill and relax and be about other things. Now, to be fair, in those early on meetups, you're not going to be able to show all those versions of your personality. Like on a first meetup, you might meet her at a party, for example. That's not really the atmosphere to be trying to have these overly deep conversations. But you can have a conversation where you throw in a few jokey things here or there, but you're also talking about, how you know the person at the party, or what her favorite food's been so far, or does she want to dance to a song, or whatever. Like it doesn't have to stay on jokey stuff. Also, don't think you got to rage like this all the time. Oh my God. Like you ain't got to do that to get women. Again, you can be a fun guy, but also demonstrate that you know how to be fun and also be chilled and relaxed at the same time. And so also understand that you don't have to try to hold her attention all the time. Like the ultimate job is to focus on connecting with her and not performing for her. Your presence alone is going to outshine whatever performance you have, and that's why, like they say, women back in the day talked about falling for the strong silent type. Like you don't have to say a whole lot to still have a woman want to be engaged with you. She can be talking about something. You can just kind of like lean back, give her a nice little smirk, maybe look at her up and down a little bit, like she's sexy and she knows it. And like that, giving off that vibe, that's not you being hyper or anything. That's you being relaxed, but recognizing what's going on, And so as you do that, you'll find that you're able to integrate what feels like a more realistic version of you into when you're picking up women. Because ultimately, yes, we want you to be yourself, but we want you to be the version of yourself that's going to attract her and that's going to get her engaged. And you don't have to be at a full 10 to do that. And the reality is, if you are at a full 10 when you do that, then like I said, later down the line, as she gets to know you more, she's going to start thinking, this isn't the guy that I met. So you have to kind of like tamper down a bit on how high energy you are and recognize that's still going to be okay. Like I've told you guys famously on the show, I was able to go to parties and like meet women and be the guy in the room that got the woman that everybody else wants. I remember one time we had a party back in the day. We were at my apartment and I took a nap. Like I knew people were coming over for this party, and I went to my room and took a nap for like 3 hours. And I came out of my room at like 12 midnight. And at that point, a lot of people were there, both guys and women. And there was like a particular woman that was there that all the guys been hitting on. And I was out there halfway groggy, talking to people and saying, what's up? I met this girl. I was like, oh, hey, what's up? And then I knew at that point the sequence I needed to go through to be able to get that girl. But suffice to say, I walked away from her and I said hi to some other people. I wasn't being hyper. I was tired as heck. But I was like, we're having a party here. I'm going to come have fun for a little bit. And so short story long, of all the guys that were there, I was able to end up, I'll say, doing the most with her. And that wasn't me. That wasn't a result of me being overly hyper about nothing. It was just me being a cool guy that knew how to have a good time. I was a little bit patient. I was flirty with her. I was able to talk to her and stuff like that. And none of that involved me jumping out of my skin to impress her. So don't think that that's the only energy that women are going to respect and like out you, because I don't want you making that mistake and then wondering why it is that you feel so kind of weird about yourself. And the reality is nobody can keep that up. Even dudes that are always at a 10 in real life, like usually behind the scenes, they're chill dudes. I know, like, for example, Eddie Murphy's a very popular actor. He's always funny on set, this is that. But if you like see interviews with him, he's usually just kind of like, oh, hey guys, what's up? What's going on? Yeah, you know, what's up? Like, he's not that overly hyper dude in his day-to-day life. That's actually true for most comedians, because I used to run in circles where I would film comedians and stuff. And most of them behind the scenes are just kind of like even-toned dudes, but get them to a party and they know how to turn up, you know? But they also know how to pull women aside and kind of give them that one-on-one interaction where they're not so hyper in that moment with her. So just some things to consider. Hopefully that'll help you out. Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Harry Dating Convos. Don't forget to visit HarryWilmington.com to download my free ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. And while you're there, if you're ready to take things to the next level with your dating life, check out the Get Girls Academy membership program for exclusive strategies and live coaching. Go to HarryWilmington.com to learn more and join today. Lastly, if you've got a question you'd like answered on one of these shows, leave a comment below or write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.